It's accolade, it's academic literacy. We empower students with academic literacy practices, which will assist, hopefully, in undergraduate writing, writing texts that are fit for purpose, and ensuring that indeed we are able to address the questions that may arise in assignments, in exams, quite successfully applying what we would have gained or acquired through such interactions as accolade platforms. So I welcome you once again. I have this to share with you. It's expository text, reading and understanding or comprehending expository or informative text. So this is what we will this evening be working on. You know, expository texts, you know, it's the articles that you are given, perhaps you are not even given, they are perhaps recommended readings, or they could be prescribed readings that you have to do. And so when you read for meaning, how do you do it? Okay, I'm hoping this workshop will assist us in applying reading strategies to unlock text meaning. Applying reading strategies to unlock text meaning. Keep your module in mind. Think about the texts that were prescribed readings or recommended readings. Think about that. How did you do it? I say apply reading strategies to unlock text meaning. It's a bit difficult to know how to do this if we are not exposed to those strategies, but hopefully this will help. Remember, it's reading and comprehending expository texts. And we want to know how we can actually do that in our respective modules. Developing robust understanding of reading text. Now, that term, robust, it's more on reading in such a way that you wake me up 12 o'clock midnight and I am able to give interpretation of what I read perhaps 12 hours before, the different perhaps texts that I have read, and I am able to provide an evaluation of such texts. I understand the text so much that I can use it in any direction that I want to. Robust understanding, deep, strong understanding of a text. You know, how do we do that? An understanding that propels you to expressing meaning of that text using even your own words, and to a greater extent, because it's on your fingertips, you understand every facet of the text itself. And so you are confident to articulate ideas in your own way and still remain with the original idea, because you have that robust understanding of the text, a strong, deep understanding of that text, that expository text. Okay. Now, maybe I should start where I thought I must add. But let me leave it that way because I suppose students know what expository texts are. First year students, maybe it's a problem. Second, third year students should know what an expository text is. You know, we have expository text or informative text. We also have an argumentative text that uses argumentative writing, right? Different text genres. But expository text, I would leave it to the end so that we engage with. We will see few articles that I will show, which are indeed expository text. Writing text-based and coherent paragraphs. I want you to write a paragraph that is based on a text, that expository text, understanding the composition of expository paragraphs. Look, the composition, how do you compose an expository paragraph? See, when you're writing in your exams or assignments, sometimes you're asked to give a paragraph response. Other times they would actually ask for not only a paragraph response, maybe even a page-long response or an essay kind of response. It involves writing. It involves putting your thoughts together and expressing your views in a coherent and cohesive manner. So those paragraphs are very, very important, right? Let's then look at these objectives. We want to apply the reading strategies. We want to develop that deep, strong understanding of the reading text. We want to compose or write a text based on a coherent paragraph. And we want to also understand the composition of an expository paragraph. You know, the composition is, remember, paragraphs have to be organized. They are structured. They are not random. So I want us to look at a composition of a paragraph in an expository text so that you too can be able to organize your paragraphs successfully. Right, let's then do it together. Remember, it is reading and comprehending informative or expository text. Let's then look at this. You know, a text, a construction is where we put together different materials to complete perhaps a building or a structure. So think of a text as a construct, as constructed. You put together different pieces and relate those pieces together so that you have a structure that can stand and make an update to the public, right? And with regard to a text, we put it together, constructing it in a manner that it would then express or represent meaning according to the text producer's perspective or according to the text producer's intentions. So if it is constructed, it can be deconstructed. In other words, we want to peel it off like an onion, one layer at a time, and get to the core of the text to understand the true intentions of the text producer. And this is beyond just looking into the language choice of the writer, but getting deeper into the meaning, the underlying meanings, hard to detect, yet there. Last time, when we had a workshop on reading critically, I spoke of levels of reading. I said reading between the lines and beyond the lines. And so when you think of reading between the lines, you make sense by inferring on what has not been directly stated in the text, inferring meaning based on evidence that is given in the text, and also evaluating the text to perhaps judge whether the text is accurate or inaccurate. And there, you then pass a judgment based on your experience or knowledge on a particular area covered in that text or covered by that text. So it has to be peeled one layer perhaps at a time and get to the core of it, understanding exactly how it was composed and for what purpose, and whether it accomplishes that purpose or not. You know, so deconstructing it is very important as you approach it as perhaps a construction of the writer or author or text producer. And now my responsibility is to understand the workings of this text in making meaning of what the writer conveys through that text. So, what do you think would be your quickest ways, perhaps, of knowing what a text is about without reading through it? Maybe I put this question to you and get you to perhaps write some perhaps make input in the chat box on your thoughts as perhaps the quickest means of knowing what a text is about without reading through it. Think of a 31-page text, informative text, or article, expository text. Think of a 31, 25, even 15-page kind of article. How do you know what this is about without reading through it? How would you do that? It's a 10-page, 15-page, 20, some even 30-page article. You downloaded it, but you want to make a decision whether to go ahead working with it or integrating it in your assignment or not. What would be your quickest way of knowing what that text, that expository text, is about without necessarily reading through it? Okay, Nomanda writes by analyzing the title of the text. Analyzing the title of the text should be my quickest way of knowing what the text is about without reading through it. In other words, you are saying I would use the title to predict what the text is about, and the title, the text content will not deviate from the title, and thus my prediction is likely to be confirmed because I believe the title encapsulates the content of the text or the text content. It explicates, it explains, it makes it clearer. It yes, expands maybe in different ways, but the center is still on the text title. It will not deviate from that. Okay, that is what Nomandla thinks, right? Analyzing it should help me to predict, right? And Victoria writes, by reading the first few lines, that is the introduction, and the last lines, that is the conclusion, I guess. Okay, this should give me an idea what to expect in the text. Introduction and conclusion. It's a beautiful, according to Victoria, way to know what to expect. Should I go ahead reading it because I have done my predictions based on evidence provided in the introduction, which sums up, perhaps which gives an idea what to expect in the text, and the conclusion confirming what the introduction has stated. Okay, that's a good one. Introduction and conclusion. Then I can decide whether I should go on reading this text. It will be helpful in providing some ideas regarding my research or regarding my assignment. Thank you very much for that, Victoria. Andiwe writes, by literally reading the title of the text and analyzing it. Okay, so he's still working with the title and using it as perhaps the predictor of what the text should be based on, right? And read the heading, intro, abstract of the text, and using that is Muteo. Read the intro, abstract of the text, and using that to infer what the text is mainly about. Okay, and there's 4 more students who believe the heading, intro, or abstract should unlock to the student or should help the student know and make a decision whether to continue with that or not. Thank you for such literacy, academic literacy practices that you are actually drawing on to share your thoughts, your comments regarding how to go about doing this before you actually read for details. So let's see, Nonkanyeso, right? The topic may be a hint, okay? Words that appear mostly an illustration, if provided, may assist in determining what it is about. The title of the text gives the idea of what it seems many or majority would think in the same kind of manner regarding the title, the introduction, or abstract, as providing us with that direction where the text is going. Thank you very much. I agree. But let's look at the following as well, in addition to what the students are saying. Will I be adding to what the students say? Let's see what the slides has. What other the slides have. And so we have deconstructing. Yet again, I want to emphasize how important this is. Remember, it is a construct. It should be deconstructed in order to know exactly its workings and develop that robust understanding of that text, in expository text. You think of it as composed, rather as constructed, consisting of different layers. It's multi-layered. We do not just treat it at face value. It's one layer reading it at face value to perhaps decode the text itself, but we need to move deeper into it to get into the core functions of the text, what its intentions are, how it is perhaps influencing the reader, or what its intention intentions are and how is that accomplished. We should be able to get to that
No
point
shedding
as
being
we
used again.
actually read.
Note that this is
Right.
me. And
Okay.
acceptable is
So
to
someone
mean
spoke, I read there, someone saying abstract, introduction or abstract. It is indeed important to back up the title um, with more rather additional information, which is quick to get to um, in order to know what shape and size of knowledge this text is offering. And so I hope the abstract, using abstracts and keyword slide is showing on your screen. All right. I've moved to that slide using, or the slide using abstracts and keywords, right? So this will help you. The student who said heading or title and abstract or introduction should help. I want to add to that keywords. Remember, you are working on a particular topic given by the lecturer. And that topic you are investigating is a topic which should be addressed. And you want to save time. And so, yes, title, abstracts, and keywords should guide us. An abstract is that brief summary. Okay. Now, we need to show students, perhaps, especially first-year students, they may struggle, but I think they do not have that struggle because unless it's a module that doesn't offer that kind of assistance in terms of understanding what these things are doing when we write or read. We read in order to write an assignment or an essay, how important abstracts are, how important keywords are in helping students make a decision whether to discard or keep a particular article or an expository text. It's a brief summary of a long piece of research-based writing. It's a brief, I said 25-page long research or 30-page long. Do you want to read through it without necessarily getting to know first what to expect? It would save time if you look at this initial practices, academic practices of literacy practices of knowing or predicting what this text, how helpful this is going to be to my research or my assignment. So it's that brief summary of a long research-based writing, right? And it helps you with the findings as well, what the researcher has found, because they will include that information or share it in the abstract. So it pretty much gives you the overview of the research itself or the article itself. And then you can make a decision whether you want to go ahead with it or you do not want to go ahead reading it. It's going to be a waste of time. Let me just demonstrate something here. I'm going to share the following. It's an article or an expository text, which I intend showing to the students at this point to at least get to see what the other students are saying when they say abstract, when they say introduction or abstract, and others saying title. These are ways to know what content the text carries, right? Let me unshare this. So we have quality and inequality in the assessment of visual literacy in grade 12 examination papers across 6 South African languages. An article, I'm not sure the quality of the article, of the the article itself on your screen, but I will support by also reading. Look, this is what we have as the heading of the article itself, and quality and inequality in assessment of visual literacy. Quality and inequality. Okay. In grade 12 papers across South African languages, 6 South African languages. Okay, let's think of South African languages that are examinable. We have English, Afrikaans, isiZulu, Sepedi, Setswana, Tshivenda. Right, Tshivenda. Just an example. And students are tested on these languages at home language levels, depending on the level that they have registered for that particular language. So home language quality will not be the same as second language quality in terms of the content of the paper and the complexity of questions based on either the passage that has been chosen or based on literary set works that have been chosen. At home language level, the paper demands more cognitive engagement on the part of the learner. That is at home language level, unlike at second language or first additional language level, right? So the paper says it's about rather the quality and the inequality in assessments of visual literacy. So the specific focus on visual literacy. Grade 12 papers across 6 languages. So the researcher took 6 papers and then compared them at home language level in terms of the quality of the texts that are chosen and the quality of the questions that are asked by the examiners. Hope you understand. There are different levels of reasoning or thinking that are tested, you know. Let me give you an example. Account for the use of metaphor in line 6. Account for. And discuss and comment on its effectiveness. All right. It's a complex kind of a question that requires a much more deeper kind of level of analysis in order to get to the answer. I'm just giving an example. And it's very different from a question that says, what is the meaning of perhaps something that is given in the first paragraph? What is the meaning of? So you're interpreting at a meaning level, or you could say, what is the name of? And it's given somewhere on the line. And now the researcher is saying that these different papers, which are supposed to be all at home language tested, they differ. They are unequal. There are some papers at home language level that are more difficult than others, thus advantaging some students, and whilst other students or other learners are disadvantaged. That's the meaning of. Now, someone said analyzing the title. You get the point. I'm doing exactly that. And I want from here onward to make a decision whether it is a fruitful exercise reading further this article. So you are right to say I need to analyze, and I'm trying to do exactly that. You see, to make sense simplify or sort of, yes, the text, simplify it so that it's easy for me to understand and make predictions whether this would be helpful in terms of my assignment responsibility. And so I have done that, worked with the title of the, or rather the heading of the text itself and the expository text itself. And now I also said in the slide, if you remember, keywords are also important. That analysis, I may be jotting down some points if I like, predictions if I like, because I need to make a decision whether I should go ahead reading this or not. And I want students not to really waste time reading through something that won't help them at all, right? So we have also here another important thing. There's a student who said abstract. There is an abstract. In promoting, I'm reading, in promoting equality across South Africa's 11 official languages, the OBE has established common language curriculum and common guidelines for the high stakes grade 12 and NSC exiting examinations. This article rather examines the summative assessment of the visual literacy VL component of home language examination papers in 6 dominant languages: Afrikaans, English, Sotho, Sepedi, Xhosa, and isiZulu between 2009 and 2011. Right? So this is research to check the quality of those papers and to determine to make a determination on whether they are of equal quality or standard, or whether there could be some which are more difficult than the others. And if that is the case, then it means the process is unfair, could be deemed unfair, because at home language level, we expect students to pass or learners to pass by obtaining a certain mark, and it could unlock the doors to tertiary education in terms of the AP score. So if there is one language that oversimplifies the paper than the other, and they are not set at equal quality, equal standard of quality, if they are not at the same level, then some groups are more advantaged than other groups rather. And so that's the argument perhaps that I am seeing emerging from this paper. And I can make a decision from just reading the abstract whether I go ahead reading it or not. And so he says, the assessment of VL across the languages lacks equivalence. You see that? Lacks equivalence. This is the finding that the writer has made or the author has made, that there is a lack of equivalence in nation guidelines, rather in terms of text selection, in terms of quality of questions for both technical knowledge and critical language awareness, and cognitive level demands. The article concludes by arguing that an examination guideline policy is inadequate for establishing equality of assessment across languages, and that other significant dynamics must be addressed if the desired outcome of equality across language examinations is to be achieved. This is real stuff. It's life, it's future, it's where inequality, which even affects university intake, can come in to picture. That some students who are enrolled for these particular home languages are more advantaged than others because their papers are not of the same quality. Thus, it's a gateway into university enrollment for some, while others are locked out because of the quality of the paper, of the home language papers. You see how this is so important. And now look at the keywords. The keywords there, we have assessment, cognitive levels, critical language awareness, fairness in testing, language equivalence, text choices, visual literacy, washback. Now, I look at the topic, or you look at your topic. Do these keywords correspond perhaps with the keywords that are there in my own topic? In this module that I am researching, rather in this assignment, that topic that I am actually researching. Do I find that there are similar or same keywords as I see here underneath the abstract? Some research or journal articles will not have or do not provide, some researchers do not provide the keywords. So I do find keywords very, very useful guide in terms of decision making, whether I should go ahead, read, just as it's important to read the abstract, it's important to read the title, or rather heading of the article, to try and find. Okay, so I need to pause to find out what to expect in the article itself or the text itself, and make a decision where to go ahead or to stop and get to another one. It should save you time like that. 10 minutes of working with the heading or title and abstract and keywords should at least help you make that decision whether I should use it or not. Because when you use it, I'll show you, when you use it, you need to be sure that you're not going to waste time. There is, and this is order. Students work, students have other engagements. So how to save time doing your work here is very important indicator. So I've just used one. I'm not going to share another one. So just this one is enough, I think. Right. Let's now go back to the presentation, the slides. What we have done so far is to establish ways of knowing whether I should continue reading this particular text in preparation for my assignment or not. Now, some lecturers will give you in their tutorial letter the prescribed texts for reading, while others, they would leave it open to say, use minimum of 5 references or 5 articles or 5 sources to write your essay or to write your assignment. And so you now have to go search for what you need for the assignment to be completed successfully, and making a decision, because some lecturers would not want to make that decision for you. They know which material to use, which resources to use, but they want you to develop that skill of searching relevant information from or using the internet or your library, and avoid, therefore, giving students even a prescribed list of articles or resources that they should consult for their assignment, because on its own is part of research writing skill, searching relevant information from different sources to compose a cogent argument addressing the topic that you are given. It's a skill on its own, searching relevant information. And so we want that to develop. And so to accomplish that, we leave it open and say students must go out and find information by themselves and independently on what useful information that will help them accomplish this exercise. All right, so we have covered that part. So we move to another section of reading and comprehending expository or informative texts. So I have covered abstract and how important that is for your assignments. Now, text overview. Text overview, robust understanding of a text. Don't forget that objective, robust understanding of a reading text or expository text. Text overview. Here are your students studying or reading and maybe even researching, or maybe they're doing it for leisure. We don't know, but there they are. How do you get that overview? Look, you now know, you've made a decision to read further now because you find that text, that article useful. You've made that decision. Now you are reading further. You want to get to now, like you do to an onion, peeling each layer of the text to develop a robust understanding of it, strong understanding of it, so that you can use it effectively. Overview, text overview, right? Now, we're going to work with the real text here, okay? And I want you to tell us, how do you, what other ways do you use, practically so, to develop that overview before you read it for details? Okay, let me show you this. Right, look, here you have it. I want you to show me, how do you help yourself to getting to have an overview of a text like this. We chose a short one. This is a short one, in fact. If you look at it, I have here, okay, so I want you to work with the first and the second paragraphs. Now, I want you to work with these two, right? And then show me how you will get yourself to that point in your reading of gaining an overview of a text. How will you do it? Yeah, maybe you can give me an example. You can write in the, if it's showing on your side, I don't know if the letters are just too small for you. I'm able to see, but on your side, maybe you are using a phone and this is tiny, tiny, tiny kind of words that are appearing on the screen, but you can increase the font size and be able to see. Just to demonstrate, how do you help yourself to gain an overview of a text and as you write or you prepare yourself to read for meaning? One of the things that we will do is, I need to have sort of a picture of what is going on in the text. And how do you do that? Gaining that overview. Of course, we worked with the title or the heading. We also worked with the keywords and the abstract. That could also be stepping stones toward giving us that overview. But now with the actual text in terms of the paragraphs, what will you do in order to gain that perspective, or rather an overview of the text before you read? Maybe we working with a few paragraphs that are given. Let me illustrate. Perhaps we'll compare and see how to get to that, gaining the overview, which is very important in unlocking, in helping you understand and develop that deeper understanding of the text. You know, it is very, very important. Let's look at this. The diagram, or rather the diagrammatic representation of that article that I've shown you in the previous slide. I have the top left corner of the slide. I hope we are all on the same slide. There's right, let's look at brisk walking, the underused modality to alleviate obesity. There is the thought bubble there. I deliberately placed it there to prompt ourselves into thinking, what do I know? I'm thinking, what do I know about maybe obesity? You know, I haven't perhaps read through yet the text. And so I am beginning to think. I have my topic. And now I have this article. They gave me the lecturer has given me their topic that I should research, do my research based on it. And so I then get to an article. I find the article interesting and relevant. And so what do? I then think, this article is about brisk walking to reduce obesity. Perhaps it's about that. And so based on the abstract and heading and maybe even the keywords, I then think, what do I know? What am I bringing in to this reading? What is my prior knowledge? Because I bring in prior knowledge into this reading activity or reading of the text. I may know something. Well, with other articles, depending on the topic, I may find that I do not know anything on it. I do not have any experience of this. I haven't heard anything about it. But if I do know something about obesity, can I write that down? If I have an example, can I write that down? This is what I am bringing into the reading. It's what I know, my lived experience of obesity, what I know about it, what I've seen about it. I want to remember, reading is an active activity, very active. I bring in something and I know what I am bringing in into the reading exercise. And having done so, remember I asked gaining an overview. I think the diagram would actually help me, together with what I know, to get an overview. And if there is something that I know and I've noted it, it helps me now to see how this will add to what I already know. And you are learning in a way, because you can even argue. All right. You can right. It will help you to at least be able to allow your voice to be heard in your assignment or in your research. We spoke of critical reading. And so you are able to compare what you know with what is coming, with what is new. By the way, what you know may be what you know from your previous readings. And you note them, what you know from your previous reading. That could generate an interesting way of now being able to compare different perspectives and see where they are similar and where they are different, right? And it is important. And if I am bringing in something into this reading, how does the new information add to what I know? How is my thinking developing based on this new information that I'm getting? Now I have this here, and it says this is the heading of, or rather the title. Let me say the title um, of the text, the reading text: brisk walking, the underused modality to alleviate obesity. You see, paragraph 1, using my own words, is about increasing obesity levels in the world, increasing in the world, increasing obesity. I should actually include the word obesity there, increasing obesity in the world. And I then move on by, depending on the size of an article, of course. In some instances, you would find that an article will have subtopics, and that already helps you because the subtopics are just another way of helping you have an overview on the article to say, okay, this article basically is giving, or it will be sharing information on this and that and that and that and that and that. And so when you are planning your writing, this is what you usually do. You brainstorm and come up with ideas to include in your writing. Let's talk of creative writing. But then looking at a research article or a research essay, or yes, it may use some subtopics which are very important in helping you have a sort of picture of the whole article, because you have done what we can regard as or refer to as skimming and scanning, looking at perhaps this number 1 here, increasing obesity in the world, the first sentence that begins each paragraph, to summarize it and help ourselves know or develop some overview of the article itself. In some articles, they will provide you with the subtopics already, and that helps you get even at a greater speed to the overview of the article, having that gist of the reading text without reading it for details yet. You have that gist and you're jotting down things, to help yourself understand very well that article. Let me tell you this, please allow me to say, once you have a very good, firm, strong, deep understanding of the article that I'm taking you through the initial phases, once you have that, you will have the confidence to express these ideas using your own ways, to summarize them, to paraphrase them, because you are not overly dependent on the language of the text producer or the author. Why? You have a good understanding that you can actually write a lot about the article um, based on your understanding and knowing for sure that you have understood that article. You know, you have it, you have immersed yourself, your mind in it, to the point where now you have a very a deep understanding of it, a robust understanding of it, and then you can start using that information to either support or confirm your argument in the essay or assignment that you are writing. Hoping I'm making myself a little easy to understand, students to understand what I'm actually saying. So what I did, I wrote the main idea of the first paragraph. And I can do the same with the second, and I can do the same with what I'm doing. And what you see here, risks, Malaysia not exempt. These are the supporting details that the increasing obesity in the world has, or it comes with risks. And the risks are given in that paragraph. And Malaysia is not exempt from the patterns, the increasing patterns in obesity in the world. That is not exempt. There is evidence that it is also on the rise in Malaysia. And so I have these main ideas given in the given in each paragraph. And where do I get the main ideas if I do not have the subtopics? I get the main ideas here. I'm going to the previous slide. I get the main ideas here. Right. I said increasing obesity in the world. I'm looking at the first paragraph. Usually it would be an introductory paragraph, but I just worked with it as just a normal body paragraph. I look at the first one, the worldwide prevalence of obesity. Maybe let me skip the first one and treat it as an introduction. Let me move to this, the second paragraph. There it says prevalence of obesity and its adverse consequences across different age groups were reported by various investigators in Malaysia. Right. So this is the topic sentence. This is our topic sentence. It contains, or rather, it carries the main idea of, rather, the main idea of paragraph 2 is expressed here. Paragraph 2 is about this, is about the consequences, so I can write it down, is about the consequences of obesity, the result of obesity. Okay? The results of obesity across different groups. The results of obesity across, what are the results? So I can come, or rather I can go back to this. I can go back now to this. I go back to this. And what do? This paragraph. I write, I keep it simple. I write results of obesity. Okay. So it is on the increase in the world, and there are risks. As I was reading for details, the paragraph, opening paragraph, includes risks to support the increase in obesity worldwide, and that Malaysia is also in the mix of high prevalence of obesity as in other parts of the world. But the second paragraph, and so I have paragraph number 2. So I am working with each paragraph to get to the main ideas of the paragraph so that I can at least now, and I'm using my own words to summarize the main ideas, to identify the main ideas in each paragraph. Now, let me say this. The second paragraph gives us the results, okay? And then I will actually write here what the results are, what those results are. Maybe they would be additional information. Now, this is where I'm now reading for details. I have read the first sentence that begins each paragraph to get the main idea for each paragraph. And I do the same with the rest. And I get the main ideas that that the main ideas that are given in each topic sentence. And where do we find the topic sentence? The topic sentence is that sentence that begins each paragraph, students. That will be your topic sentence. I have shown you by highlighting the topic sentences, right? Here is the topic sentence. This sentence here is your topic sentence. Academic writing is structured. When you write an essay, it has a structure. Each paragraph in the body of the essay has a structure. And the structure is as follows. It will always begin with the main idea. And the main idea is is expressed in the topic sentence, or is given in the topic sentence. And therefore, I am able to say the paragraph's main idea here is the results of, maybe even negative results or adverse results of obesity. Okay. And then when I read through, I've not yet started reading through the entire, I have the main idea for paragraph 2, and I must find the main idea given in paragraph 3. And I have here, in the past decade, various steps were taken to diminish this scourge of obesity in Malaysia. So here is what I say, paragraph 3, solutions. Solutions. So I write solutions, and I know these are solutions to the problem of obesity, you know. And so I'm not yet looking for those solutions because I am not yet reading for details. I'm just finding the main ideas. Like when you are producing a mind map, you know, and you will then have something that says that takes this shape. It will take this shape indeed. So I have the results, and having the results, I will also have perhaps I will also have perhaps another main point or main idea for paragraph 3, which is the solutions to obesity, or for obesity, rather ways to overcome obesity, or even solutions to the problem of obesity. And I write it there, the solutions. I provide that as the main idea for that paragraph. And I do the same with the rest of the other paragraphs. So I would have now a picture will start emerging. What is happening here in this reading? If it's a long read, if it's a long article, it will have the subtopics. And I may jot them down just so that I have a sort of plan, sort of a spider diagram, which will at least help me to say, oh, this is what this article says. I haven't yet read it out for details. I will read it for details, but at least I have a picture before reading details of what this is about. And I'm doing this precisely because I want to have a good feel or understanding of this article so that I am able to articulate, express, or make a point using my own words. I'm able to summarize, I'm able to um, get to get to paraphrase some of the ideas that are interesting and are expressed or are indicated or given in the article. I can do that once I have a very good understanding of what it is that is happening here. I should be able to say, step back from the article or the text and say, this is so and so saying this about obesity. And now, what is it that I know? How different is what I am learning from what I already know concerning obesity? You see, I'm thinking based on what I know and what the article is saying. And I have stepped back to think about the things that are said, the ideas that are brought to the fore, the new information that is brought to the fore in the article, comparatively looking at what I know, maybe from my previous studies concerning obesity, and compare and start to say, oh, I didn't realize that this could be a problem, but it is raised as a problem in this article. Do you see? And in that way, I am understanding to the point where I am confidently talking or having a conversation with the article content or with the author's ideas as shared in the article itself. And so, once I have that overview, I can then now read for details to sort of get examples, get the statistics if they are given, get explanations why things are like this if they are given to support those main ideas that have been identified. Okay, I'm reading for details now. So remember, we said when we started, reading and comprehending expository texts. And so we want to get to that point where, having read it, I can now have that confidence to use the ideas using my own words because I understand the article very well, right? And now I want us to do this. Having shown you this, I want us to do this. I want us to look at this slide. And I think this slide will be quite helpful to the students as well. Now, you are given perhaps the minimum number of sources to consult for your assignment. Maybe it is 3. And I have the first one there. Brisk walk is on obesity. The topic perhaps is obesity. So I have the first one by Chen. It's written by Chen. And as I read, what do I find about well, brisk walking being the solution to or helping in alleviating obesity? Which groups are affected by obesity according to Chen? And then as I read there, in fact, these subtopics, I actually come up with this as I read through. Perhaps if the subtopics are not given, the topics the topic sentences that carry the main idea for each paragraph can help me. If one paragraph is giving me the groups, the age groups that are affected by this, I can write here that Chan says these are the groups that are affected. And I write that. I can already use my own words, or this teenagers are the ones who are most affected, or I can write that down as given in. And I look at another article here. Let me do this. Another, maybe article 2, which says, which is, maybe the title is How to Overcome or Overcoming Obesity. Overcoming Obesity. And then this is written by who? Maybe it's written by, let's say, Ndlovu. It's written by Ndlovu. And then maybe Ndlovu has nothing to say about groups affected. It's not giving us anything. So I'll leave this empty. Remember, I'm reading multiple articles and I'm reading comparatively. And I may have also this side here, the third article, or even a book. And as I read, I'm trying to find the common areas and where something is not given but in another article it is given. And having done this, I now have an idea where things are similar and where things are different in the different articles or resources that I have consulted. Maybe Chad or Chen is giving the different groups that are, is giving us perhaps the different groups that are affected there. And Ndlovu is not giving us any. And so it's empty. I leave it on empty. And there's a third perhaps material or resource or source that I have used. I write there the title and all that. And every time when I get something interesting, I will indicate also the page number to help me with in-text citation. Now, remember, I have understood what the article is saying. And having understood, I then have a very firm understanding of what it is saying. And now I can start gathering from these articles. I can start gathering from them important information which I may need for my essay. And so on page 5, he says something about the groups that are affected. But Ndlovu says nothing about, it's not giving us, but it's giving us something new. Maybe he's giving us the solutions. Maybe he says brisk walking is a solution. Okay, so I write brisk walking, right, as a solution, and it's also a proposed solution in Ken's article, brisk walking. As I read, I find that there is that is actually coming through. And then they give also the findings on how helpful it is and what do they find are the positive results of brisk walking. So they would actually have done the research, and they have actually done research, conducted this research using participants who are engaging in brisk walking already. And as they engage in brisk walking, what are the benefits that they find? He might actually jot down those benefits based on the findings that were made by Chen on brisk walking. I write those findings down. He found that the participants were showing an improvement in terms of this or that area, and I write those. It means these brisk walking as a solution has benefits, and these are the benefits according to Chen. And what did he find, Glovu, regarding brisk walking? I'm just giving you a simple kind of way of trying to get to a point where you are able now, when you write, to write critically, and maybe he also shares the benefits of brisk walking, and the findings are shared by Ndlovu. And you may also have the third source there, which you do the same as you read. But I'm doing this having developed a robust understanding when I was reading for meaning making here. I am able to know what it is saying, this text, what it is saying. It is saying all these things that I have written down here, and I am also indicating all what these authors are saying in the article, and just now giving the information on what they are actually saying on different subtopics that I am actually writing on or in the left column. So I can go on and on and on with so many other subtopics as I gather information which will help me write my assignment. But I'm doing this because I have understood what the passage, or rather the text, is saying. I understand what it is actually saying. And somewhere I could also include what Chen's text is doing to the reader. After reading this, what is this? What is the intention of Chen? How is the article influencing the reader? Now I have all the information on what it is saying, but I can also indicate what the intention, of these articles, what the intentions are, or how it influences the reader. Okay, and I find this information here. It is very important to also find what these texts are doing, these readings are doing. It will help you when you start writing critically to say that this one is saying this, and the intention is to get us to understand it to work this way. And this one is saying this, and the intention is, and so once I have that, I am able now to go back to my topic and say the following, and say, S, I'm just now showing you, S 10. S Chen, obviously Chen maybe is published in 19, let's say is published in 2016. I'm just making up that date, that year rather. S Chen and Ndlovu. You see, I'm able to do that because I have read and I was able to compare in my reading. Maybe 2020, S Ndlovu, as Chen Ndlovu state, right? Brisk walking, right? Brisk walking will or may, rather, we avoid using will, may benefit participants, right? May benefit participants. And I indicate the ways that they are actually, I summarize the ways that they say it could be of benefit to the participants, right? And then maybe as I was doing the comparative study of these articles I've read and I've put everything on the table, I find that someone is actually arguing against this risk walking. However, participants, however, according to someone else, maybe let's give a new name. According to Martins, 2021, page 15. According to Martins, one needs careful consideration. One needs careful consideration when engaging in brisk walking for health benefits, benefits, yes. Right. So I can do this because I have a broad view of what the scholars say about brisk walking. I hear the different voices, even the debates that are there. I see the similarities and the differences. And I'm able to also agree with certain perspectives and disagree with others, you know? And if I am able to write like this, I am able to do this because I have read through different articles or resources, and I was able to compare on a particular subtopic what they say, and where there are similarities, I'm able to group points of similarities and also provide these points of similarities. Where there are arguments raised by others, I'm able to also on the same topic raise a warning in case people suddenly believe that this will solve all their health issues. Warnings that are founded by other authors. I'm able to use that. So I have different voices on a particular subtopic shared within a paragraph. And I had to synthesize, I had to put them together. I had to evaluate the information that they are giving and and um, well, analyze the information that they are giving, evaluate its significance, and then use it comparatively in the paragraph. And for me to do that, I need to have really read through laterally. You know, there's that thing of reading linear. Let me explain what I mean by that. Where I'm just reading one article all the way, yes, to the end, and I am not writing anything down. And I'm hoping to perhaps get to reference one author here. And then in that paragraph, I have just used just that one And I'm not comparing the different scholars who are perhaps who have done research in that same area. And so I developed that form of linear reading and writing, which is just one source dependent, because I do not see where the voices of the scholars, where they merge and where they diverge. But if I have a table like this, I am able to see where the convergence, rather the points of convergence and points of divergence, and talk about those in my writing. And this takes good reading or comprehension of the texts themselves. I hope it makes sense to the students what I'm doing here. And um, this should help, but you need to have at least come to this point of understanding what the text says. And once I have understood what it says, I can then jot down tabulate what it says here and go to the next one. What does it say? And tabulate what it says here. And the same with the rest. And at least also get to a point where I now am able to find ways of finding out of at least getting to the intention. What is it that this text is accomplishing, or this expository text is accomplishing, and jot it down as well. And in that way, I am able to create an argument or a discussion in my writing. Talking about a discussion, I'm able to generate a discussion in my writing because I have actually read very well different, rather several sources, and I am using them, and I am going to use them fluently in my own writing because I have made it a point that from here to here, I know what it says. And from there, I then tabulate what it says. And I develop things such as this, subtopics, see where they are common, areas where they are common ideas, and where there are differences as I read. It makes at the end, your writing will improve tremendously because you will then be able to write. Later, we will talk about writing later on as we do our workshops. You will then be able to write like this, you know, because you read through Chen and you know how Chen and Tofu are similar. But there are voices that are sounded which are warning those who perhaps might believe that this is one size fits all solution to the problem. The warnings may be captured in Martin's article, and I share those warnings. This is critical writing beginning, you know, and or rather critical writing taking shape, where I'm considering different voices, common areas, divergence, points of divergence, and how they support, and I am able to do this successfully in each paragraph because I have been able to do something like this, working with the different sources. I hope we won't do this activity, but I hope this makes sense to the students. And expository essay. Students, expository essay or text, it's where students, I want to indicate something there. They are, um, there's a difference between argumentative and an expository essay. Let me look at the expository essay strictly. Here, you are basically discussing an issue. You are interested in clarifying that issue or by explaining it. And you look at the, here, the many angles of that issue. In other words, let's take advantages and disadvantages. You do not just share the advantages, you also share the disadvantages. You do not just share in a discussion, expository writing. If there are risks to working, I need to highlight those. If there are benefits, I also need to highlight those in the same paragraph on brisk walking. You see, it's expository writing. And I also see here that you are given a topic and you need to think information that represents both sides. You know, it's expository writing. And you are writing an exposition or an explanation or an illustration for the purpose of clarification, and your writing is neutral, not one-sided. So at the end, the reader has at the end, you want the reader to be informed on a particular topic because you have basically covered the different dimensions or facets of that topic. And now the reader is informed, and it is now up to the reader to make a decision. And they will make an informed decision because the discussion, the expository text has presented an information in the most neutral and balanced and manner, covering all sides so that the reader is very much informed on that subject or topic, and they can now make a decision. They are in a position to make a decision what they can do because the information that they were looking for is shared. So the critical voice here is where now we avoiding a sort of a linear take on a particular topic unless there isn't any other facets that we can bring in to the discussion, because it is strictly just one side that you have to share and there's no other views, rather other views that you can actually represent in your writing of an expository text or in the reading of an expository text. So I just wanted to clarify that an expository text is some sort of a discussion text, neutral, not one-sided, where all facts or all aspects of the topic are brought to the fore so that the reader is informed on that topic. And you are able to now make a decision, whichever way you want to make it, but you are making an informed decision after reading that text. Having said that, students, you reading an expository text, you need to be able to unpack it to the core and get to it in such a way that you develop a robust understanding. You are able to say, this text, I understand it because it says all these things that I have written down. And the next text, I understand it says all these things, and I'm able to express, articulate these things because I understand using my own ways. And I can compare, contrast in the process so that we get a balanced view on a particular topic. And they have presented that, and I am able to write, even myself as a student, an expository essay or text because I know I have drawn from different authors and ideas to present in my essay a balanced view as well. So the big question is, as we read, we start by making those predictions. And having made the predictions, we now can get an overview from the topic sentences. And then from there, if we have subtopics, we can use the subtopics for overview. From there, we can read the text for details. And as we read for details and come to the point of knowing exactly what the text is saying, we can tabulate those ideas set by text A, set by text B, set by text C, and categorize them according to the subtopics that we can use, informed by the text themselves. This will help us when we get to the point of now writing, because we are able to now present a comparative analysis using or drawing from different authors, where we are able to draw from 2 authors or 3 who are similar in their understanding of a particular aspect. And we can share that with our readers when we are writing our own essay. We are able to compare the different voices as well. And that makes for a brilliant writing, because I am not linear. I am drawing from different authors. I mean, a writer who is able to write like this, who is able to say this, as who's able to say Chen and Ndlovu state, even if Chen and Ndlovu do not know each other and they did not influence each, maybe they influenced it, I don't know. If they were not even in the same university doing the same research the same year, even when they do not know each other, these two, I am able to find areas where they are similar, because I have actually developed a reading that led me to a comparative analysis of their work. And I'm able to put that together in my own writing. And once a student can write like this, showing how they are similar in their essay, this is credited, students. It's credited really, because it shows evaluation skill. It shows that you are able to evaluate information from different and find points where, or areas where they are connecting, and are able to express those points in your own essay. It requires a very good understanding first of the reading itself. So I have shown you, in closing, I have shown you how to predict what the text is about using the strategies of scheming and scanning, and using perhaps even the abstract and the title and the keywords to unlock the text meaning. In other words, to know what to expect in the text itself. Robust understanding here is where we say, what does each of these paragraphs that are given here say? What are the main ideas? And I might produce some sort of a mind map or a spider diagram, which will give me that overview. And having done that, I fit the spider diagram or mind map with the details provided now as I read each paragraph for supporting details. And once I've done that, I can now tabulate it. Tabulate to say, this text is saying this in this area, and in this other area it says this and that and that. What about text B? This helps me to at least find areas where they are common and areas where they differ on the topic that I am also thinking about, the topic that I am working on, selecting information carefully as I am working as I'm doing this work itself. But it would start with me having read carefully and having known what it says, and also knowing where they are challenging each other, because that would also be a very interesting point, and also knowing what the intentions are. This all works nicely together when I am now beginning to write my own essay or assignment. This workshop was not about writing, but reading for writing purpose, gathering information, successfully for writing purpose. But first, how do I unlock the text? How do I read it for meaning? And having read it, I tabulate and have those ideas simplified for me to be able to now use them in my own writing. It will be very important to now also learn how to then write it out, having gathered the ideas from successful reading. How do I then write out my assignment based on a given topic? And um, um, I spoke a bit about organizing ideas in a paragraph. I said we always in academic writing begin with the main idea and provide supporting details. That is how a paragraph in academic writing is structured. And so, yes, it was quite perhaps um, workshop where we wanted to do even more reading. But I think the areas that we've covered in our reading will help us going forward to realize that we are challenged to read. And when we're reading, we are also challenged to organize what we are reading, bearing in mind the topic that we are working with, bearing in mind that we avoid that linear, we avoid reading that will end in linear kind of writing, which is not showing how the different materials that we have used are, are connecting and where we can find different voices which we can put into the same paragraph and allow the reader, as we engage in expository text, allow the reader to have an informed perspective on a particular topic. I will pause there, but let me thank you if you have